Good morning.
Rachel, Karen, are we ready? Good morning and welcome to the January 19th, 2022 Walton County Technical Review Committee meeting. In the way of announcements, do we have any from staff this morning? I will make my standard announcement. This is a business meeting in Walton County. This is not a public hearing. This is not the venue to say, I don't like what is being proposed. If you're a member of the public and you have a technical question regarding compliance with the Land Development Code or the Comprehensive Plan, those questions are absolutely welcome, and we'll do our best to address those when they come up. We will conduct ourselves professionally in this room, and anything less than that will result in your removal from this process. Sorry, I now owe money for not turning my phone off. Pardon that interruption. Thank you very much for your continued cooperation with regard to the demeanor of this particular meeting. With that said, we'll move to recognize that our minutes will be available at the next meeting from the January 5th TRC. They're not quite ready. And from that, we'll move right into project review. We have a number of continuance requests this morning, and we'll take those in the order of the agenda. The first of those is the major development Bishop Landing PUD. We have a request to continue to February 2nd. Could we have a motion at the dais?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to February 2nd, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Moving to agenda number 3, the Holla Lake large-scale amendment with rezoning. We have a request to continue to February 16, 2022. Can we have a motion at the dais?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to February 16, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Moving to number 4, the Dune Allen Second Edition, Lot 7 and Lot 8 replat. We have a request to continue to the February 16, 2022 TRC meeting. Can we have a motion at the dais?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to February 16, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Moving to agenda number 5, the Club Drive Lot 3326 replat. We have a request to continue this item to February 16 also. Could we have a motion at the dais?
Move to continue.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to February 16, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. in this location. That moves us to agenda number 6, the Fayard Self-Storage Expansion Major Development. We have a request to continue to February 16, 2022. Could we have a motion at the dais?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed likewise? This item is continued to February 16, 2022 Technical Review Committee meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. And I think that pretty much takes care of our request to continue it, at least the advance request. We'll move to agenda number 7, the Villages of Santa Rosa. This is a major development reviewed by Bob Baronti. Standing in for Bob this morning.
Good morning. Villages of Santa Rosa is a request to approve by final order. Project number MAJ 21-000020 is a major development application submitted by David Forstrom on behalf of VT Enterprises requesting to develop 34 townhomes and the associated infrastructure on 4.3 plus or minus acres with a future land use of residential in a zoning district of neighborhood infill. The property is located in District 5 and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report, which I would like entered into the record, please.
So entered.
If you could also enter the separate documents, I believe there's 3 separate comment sheets or bits from other reviewers, Environmental, South Walton, and Dewberry. Please enter those in the record as well.
Those updated reviews are so entered.
Thank you. It's my understanding that there are some minor comments. I also understand, based on conversations with the applicant, that he has gone to lengths to address those comments either in a recent submittal or a very soon-to-be recent submittal. If you have any questions for me, I will do my best to answer them. If not, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thanks, Stephen. We'll hear from the applicant. Morning, David.
Good morning. As Stephen said, there's a few minor comments that we can get addressed very quickly, mainly of a notational nature. I guess I need feedback from Bill at Dewberry. There were some things that were submitted that pretty much addressed all his comments. I'm not sure if you had time to look at them, but I also sent Bill an email this morning kind of explaining it.
Yeah, I received the email. I briefly looked over it, but I think some of the stuff that I was asking for, from what I could see, was addressed. Mainly the geotech report, which
Yes, sir.
was previously done for a previous project that we reviewed and approved for this parcel. So with that being said, I don't think we need to hold it up. We can conditionally move forward if that's the pleasure of the board. But from what I saw briefly this morning, I think most of my outstanding comments have been addressed.
Okay, if anything else comes up, I'd be happy to fix it quickly. So, thank you.
Anyone else at TRC have any questions for the applicant? Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Do we have any member of the public that wants to ask a technical question or make a technical compliance comment related to this proposed major development? It will get public hearings at Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners once it reaches that stage of the review. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure. Margaret Landry. I'm not sure if this is a technical question, but what about compatibility? It seems like a lot of density for that area, particularly given the fact that it has low wetlands on the property.
This is actually a project that's previously approved and is just being revised.
So density can't be?
I think that's already been addressed.
All right, thanks.
Ma'am. Anyone else wish to ask a technical question? Seeing none, we'll entertain a recommended motion.
The recommended motion would be to conditionally approve based on successfully addressing all remaining staff comments and move it to the next stage of review.
Thank you, sir. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Make a motion as stated.
Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to Planning Commission, subject to satisfaction of all outstanding comments prior to advertisement. That moves us to agenda number 8, the Nelly Preserve. This is a minor development reviewed by Kelly Schultz. Kelly, if you can introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. This is a request to approve by development order. It is a minor development order submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of the property owner, and I know I'm not going to say the last name right, Mr. Leo Hang, requesting to develop 19 single-family homes, a pool and associated infrastructure on a 9.9-acre parcel that has a future land use of conservation residential and a zoning district of conservation residential 2-to-1. The property is located in District 5. It's on the west side of Nelly Drive. The parcel identification number is in your packet. This morning, I gave each of you at your seat a revised staff report. There were some comments that came in after the report was submitted for your packet. The major changes relate to some of the comments have been resolved since last week. For example, there were some outstanding engineer comments from Dewberry and County Engineering. Those have been resolved. There were outstanding comments for, I believe it was floodplain and environmental, but those have also been resolved. Now, just the standard comments for environmental are still in your packet. There is still an outstanding comment for GIS related to the road name. We have not heard back from GIS on that. I feel like that's something that can be resolved if this is approved conditionally. The majority of the planning comments have been resolved. The rest are mainly just clerical, if you will. The only outstanding item that is possibly problematic on this particular project, if you look at page 4 of 10 of your revised staff report, under planning comments, item number 2B relates to street trees. With that said, staff had a meeting a few months ago related to this particular topic, and there was an interpretation and direction given related to requiring street trees in all new developments. So that comment is still outstanding, and I believe the applicant also wants to address it. So with that said, I would like to ask that the revised staff report be entered into the record.
So entered. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
We'll hear from the applicant. Good morning.
Dean Burgess, good morning, with Emerald Coast Associates. I agree with Kelly. Pretty much all the comments have been resolved. The only one outstanding is the street trees, and it's really more of a clarification and understanding. We have the room to do the street trees. I just wanted to make sure that the code is being interpreted properly. Out of Chapter 5, the section that we're discussing states, street frontages in South Walton County, South Walton Central and North Central Walton County. All street frontages along streets classified as collector or higher and contiguous with the proposed development or located within the interior of the proposed development and not used for street pavement, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, or driveways shall be landscaped as provided below, and it outlines street trees. The road that we have going through our subdivision is a local road. It is not collector or higher. It's a local road. I'm not opposed to street trees, but I just want to make sure that we're reading the code properly whenever we say we've got to put street trees on a local road.
Well, I would agree with you in the strict interpretation of the code. But boy, this development sure would be a lot nicer if it had trees along the street.
I agree, and the developer may voluntarily do that. I don't want to tie my developer to doing something that the code doesn't actually require.
I understand your point completely. This could be one of those things that could generate a change to the code. One of the things that we're trying to do, where the code does not take us everywhere we want to go, is ask for voluntary cooperation with the developer that is actually building a development in the county. I think those trees would be an asset to this proposed development. They're not required by the code. What do you want to do?
I can speak with the developer and see if he's willing to place street trees there. The only thing that I would request is that they could go in once the houses are constructed, because once again, if we put a bunch of street trees along there, somebody wants their driveway right where a tree is, tree gets removed, dies if they try to replant it. If we can locate those trees once the house types have been confirmed and where the driveway will be, I think that would avoid some problems and conflicts.
And I think we could accommodate that construction need if the developer would be willing to commit to the trees.
Okay. We'll have a discussion with them, and I don't think it'll be a problem, but I just wanted to understand whether we're doing street trees on every development now or not.
If it were my choice, I'd say yes.
I understand.
It's not completely my choice at the moment. Yes, ma'am. Question from staff?
Our understanding when we had the meeting with Kristen on her interpretation of what she wrote for that was that the internal streets to the subdivision also required it, which is also in that language. And so I just want to make sure that we're focusing on that word as well, because it says "and internal streets to the subdivision."
Do you guys have the code in front of you right
Basing that
now?
on the interpretation from the meeting that we had.
We'll confirm that language. At the moment, we'll accept developers' agreement to install them, subject to working with the developer on the final placement.
All right. We're fine with that. I don't think there'll be an objection to it. I just want to make sure we're interpreting the code properly.
And we certainly do also. So
Right.
thank you for that. Do we have any other questions from TRC members related to this particular project? This is a minor development. Do we have any questions related to technical compliance from any member of the public? Yes, ma'am. Margaret, if you'll come to the podium.
Margaret Landry. I just had another question about density. And it seems like they're going to maximum density on this property. And with the swimming pool amenity, which I think is a great idea, it sounds like a wonderful project, but should they pull back on the house density and not have 19, have perhaps 17 or 18? That was just my question. Is that technical?
Well, in the context of that is the allowable density for this parcel, it's
But does the-
constrained by the environmental impacts. We don't have a minimum lot size, so we're allowed to cluster out of environmentally sensitive areas. They appear to have done that, and they appear to have met all the technical requirements necessary to place that many units on this parcel.
Right, I was just wondering, because the impervious surfaces that a pool would generate, right? If that would be calculated into the density that you're allowed on a piece of property.
Absolutely, it's included.
Okay, so they're still going to have the 60% vegetative requirement to keep and all that?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
I'd of course like to see less density, but you probably know that.
Thank you for your questions and your comments. Yes, ma'am, at the back. You could come to the podium and state your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
SEND. Living in the neighborhood or part of the community, the key shape that it has, there's supposed to be 10 feet, I believe, from the border to the next lot over. Lot.
You mean a
Buildings-
building
building
setback?
Yeah, building setback.
5 on the sides, I believe. So you got 5 on each side.
I think it's 10 on each side, supposed to be.
7.5 on each side.
7.5 says
For
15,
standard
yeah.
county setback.
So where that key is that also, because I mean, what part is 7.5?
Side setbacks. the sides of each of the lots and they're dimensioned on the proposed plan that's shown up here. It's not the front, it's the two sides. There's a front and a rear. Side setback, 7.5 feet, it looks like.
These are 7 here.
This between here and here is property line, so that's 15 feet
No, I'm
here.
talking my property. My property.
Okay, for Mac, what she's discussing is the northern property line, the required setbacks.
15 foot rear.
Or we have the stormwater swale along that section of the property, and it's about, I want to say 30 feet wide. In that section of the code, when residential is abutting vacant land, it says that no buffer is required. So we do not have a landscape buffer along that portion of the property.
There is a 15-foot setback from the common area that the retention area sits in.
Yes.
So there's the 30-foot retention pond, then a 15-foot rear setback to the building.
So where would that be?
The building is right here. The building limit is here, and this is approximately, I want to say 45 feet, but I'd have to check it. It's this is part of the stormwater pond.
Okay.
Have to check that.
Then where does that stormwater go? Where is it going to?
Yes, ma'am, and they are. The applicant can
I can
describe
address that
exactly
for you.
where the stormwater goes.
The stormwater has been proposed primary discharges into the wetlands as it always has. The bleed down orifice for this wet pond discharges into the ditch along Nelly Drive.
That was the question last meeting, was that is it supposed to, should it do that? And I'm wondering what happened.
That's what we've revised. Originally, it was all discharging into the Nelly Drive swale.
Uh-huh.
So the primary discharge, which is a majority of the stormwater, will discharge into the wetlands. And only the bleed down orifice, which is very minor, 0.06. There will be no impact to this ditch, and all primary discharge will be going into the wetlands.
I don't understand. How is this?
Well, this will be
There's-
pervious area completely open. 5 feet will be completely open.
Wet thing there? all
No,
time?
the wet pond is primarily in this section.
Okay.
This is a dry swale.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else have a question about this proposed development? Seeing no further hands up, we will move to recommend a motion.
Staff would recommend that TRC consider and approving this project conditionally on, obviously, condition that the outstanding comments be resolved.
We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I think we have both.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise?
Thank you.
Hearing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to development order subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comment. This will move us to agenda number 9, the Destin Land Connection. This minor development's been reviewed by Kelly Schultz. Kelly, if you'll introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. This minor development order application was submitted by David Folstrom on behalf of the Destin Land Connection LLC, requesting to develop 9 single-family lots on a parcel that's 1.25 acres in size that has a future land use designation of residential and zoning district of neighborhood infill. The property is located within District 5, is located north of Scenic Gulf Drive at the corner of South Payne Street and Payne Street. South Payne Street being the new, an existing road south of the project. Parcel number is in your packet. As with the previous project, the staff report has been updated since originally submitted. The main changes are the bulk of the planning comments have been resolved. They can all be resolved after the fact if this is approved conditionally. There are still a number of outstanding engineering comments, and I'll let Bill address those. As we're still waiting for the survey to have an updated flood panel on it. And the rest of the comments have been resolved. So we would like to ask that this revised staff report be entered into the record.
So entered.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. We'll hear from the applicant.
Yes, good morning. David Forstrom,
David?
twice in one day. I'll be happy to answer any questions Bill may have on the project, outstanding engineering items.
Well, I didn't see where a geotech report was submitted. Has that been uploaded?
Yes, that's,
Okay.
that, if it hasn't, I'll make sure it is. It should have been part of the stormwater plan.
It may have been uploaded after the fact, so, you know,
I'll check it. If not, I'll make sure it is. I'll let you know. Yes, sir.
typically when, resubmittal comes in, we get assigned it and we download all that information onto our server.
Sure.
And then I review it. So anything that's added after that fact, I don't get to see.
I understand.
So that's probably where that is. I had some concerns with where the trees were being planted for the landscaping, just, I don't think that's easily addressed, but the biggest thing
I
is
agree
the
with your comment on the
stormwater.
live oaks. We're gonna do an alternative tree because being close to the building, we can make that change really easily.
So, I mean, realistically, the biggest concern is the stormwater, and this being where it's located, I think, we need to see the 100-year storm, and I think you know that. I think you've probably provided that. I just
did.
haven't seen it.
Right, we
I
did.
haven't been able to review it, so.
Okay, we did attenuate on the 100-year storm. Yes, sir.
Any other questions for David from TRC?
In those submittals, was a revised traffic report submitted also?
Yes, it was,
Okay,
with the trip distribution map. Yes, sir.
gotcha. Mr. Chair, I just hadn't had a chance to see those. I didn't find them in my server. Obviously, I should have went to CitizenServe and pulled them again, but I really can't say whether or not it meets it or not without having reviewed it.
And I would agree with that, and given that stormwater is a large portion of that, do you believe like you've resubmitted in response to all the outstanding comments?
Yes, sir, I do. Yes, absolutely. And we use the HydroCAD to attenuate for the 100-year storm.
Yeah, given the number of outstanding comments, I don't feel comfortable conditionally approve it and move it forward. Why don't we continue this for 2 weeks?
Okay, if Bill has any,
But you've uploaded.
yes, sir. If anything comes from his review, I can get on top of it quickly.
That would be my suggestion. We continue this for 2 weeks or for the next meeting.
Okay.
I feel comfortable with that. Just,
Time.
yeah, especially the nature of where it's located, and I think it's one of the ICPAL areas. I'm not sure, or if it isn't, it does experience some issues with stormwater, so we want to make sure that we get it right.
Right, it's not an ICP area, but based on Public Works comments, they recommended
It floods.
doing
right?
the 100-year storm. Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to continue this to
Is February 2nd, the date?
second.
I'll make a motion, we continue this project to the February 2nd TRC meeting.
Second.
We have a motion to continue to February 2nd. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise?
I'll get that turned around pretty quick for you,
Okay.
David.
Hearing none otherwise, this item's continued to February 2nd, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. in this location.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. This will move us to item number 10, Hartsfield Road subdivision, major development reviewed by Stephen Shawn. Stephen, if you can update us for it.
Yes, thank you. Harsfed Road subdivision is a request approved by final order. Project number MAJ 21-000017 is a major development order application submitted by Anderson Engineering on behalf of Roberts Real Estate Invest LLC, requesting to develop, contrary to what this blurb says, only 27 residential lots. We did receive a submittal after this was published. The applicant has reduced the number of townhomes down to 27 on 4.78 plus or minus acres with a future land use of residential and a zoning district of neighborhood infill. The property is located in District 5 and identified by the parcel ID in your staff report. If I could have that entered into the record, please.
So enter.
If you would also please enter the additional documents you have in front of you outside of the staff report, please.
Those are,
It should be a public comment, an email, if I'm not mistaken, also an updated Dewberry engineering comments report.
yes, we have both of those, and those are entered into the record.
Thank you. The applicant has, just late yesterday, submitted an updated landscape report. I did have some time to do a cursory review. While some of the comments have been addressed, not all of them. One of those comments is a street frontage landscape comment based on staff's interpretation, which may or may not move forward upon further internal discussions. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Oh, I did forget, a consistency or a compatibility analysis was also submitted. I've not had a chance to review that. I'll turn it over to the applicant if you don't have questions.
Thank you, Stephen. We'll hear from the applicant.
That on? There we go. We did meet with the neighborhood another time. This is
Right.
Brian Osborne with Anderson
Thank
Engineering. And so we've worked with the neighborhood quite a bit, and we think we have a plan that is acceptable to the neighborhood. We've left that meeting in pretty good terms. We did reduce the density from the original 36 down to 27 units. We've changed the units to where they're only triplex units now. We've also removed all rear-facing balconies so that those neighbors that surrounding neighbors don't see that. We've also reduced the footprint of each one of those buildings to make them a little bit smaller, just where they set back further from the adjacent properties. We've also clustered everything kind of up in that northeast corner, kind of away from the existing neighborhoods. We're no longer proposing any kind of impacts to the wetlands. We've also, one of the concerns of the neighbors was that we removed the pool. There were concerns about noise and stuff on that, so we did remove all of that. And then like Stephen said, we did revise the landscape plan, and if we do need to make some revisions to that, we can quickly and easily make those changes. And then I think we also need to change a street name for GIS, and we can get with GIS and make sure that our next street name is not a conflict.
Melissa Ward with Dunlap and Shipman for the applicant as well. I wanted to say there was a technical difficulty in getting the revised compatibility analysis or letter submitted, so which is why you received it yesterday instead of on the 5th of January. So we've got that resubmitted. We feel like that addresses more completely, as well as it defines and timelines some of the activity that we've had since we were asked to assist the project, including the additional community meetings and topics and some of the drive behind changing the design and layout of the development. In addition to that, I did have a conversation with staff about where we were on the project line, and while there are outstanding comments we feel like we've addressed or could address in the next day or so, anything that's left outstanding. There is a comment about the adoption of the flood map information. That's just an update on the survey there. They should be able to submit that today or tomorrow, I believe, so we need to make sure that's true. And and the planning department, we've addressed those. Of course, we'll wait to see what the interpretation is on the frontage trees, but we do not see any reason, if the comment is there, we don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to just add the trees to the plan, with the same caveat as previously mentioned, that those are added after the construction of the triplexes. And we know that there's technical comment that will be forthcoming, but we would like to reiterate that we went from a density of 36 units, which is about 7 units per acre, down to 27, which is around 5.5 units per acre. And also to reflect that we would request that, given the most recent additional information provided, that we would like the TRC to consider moving us out of TRC and potentially on to Planning Commission in February, but certainly out of the technical review committee stage, as we've addressed the majority of the comments and would be able to address the rest of them in timely fashion.
Thank you, Melissa. Any questions for the applicant from TRC members?
I don't have any.
We'll take a moment to invite any questions regarding technical compliance from any member of the audience. Anyone here wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am. If you could come to the podium and state your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Oh, my first name too, since it was misspelled last time. My name is Kyla Jacobson, Kyla Jacobson, Jacobsen.
Apologize for that.
That's okay, no problem. And by the way, computers autocorrect my name to Kayla, so I totally get it. Again, I have two concerns. I have a traffic concern and stormwater. I finally did get my hands on the stormwater management and drainage report that Anderson completed from January 5th, and it was based on the revision of the 27 townhomes, with the exception of some typos. I found the report rather thorough. Most stormwater management is based on 10-year rain events, just from a financial perspective, and looks to me like the stormwater management for this development is based on a 100-year event, which is good because supposedly, in theory, you have a 100-year event once every 100 years. But we know we've had 8 100-year events in the last 18 months. So there are lots of 100-year events here. It says that the detention area planned for the development will retain all events, including 100-year events. I didn't have the dimensions of the detention pond, so I couldn't do my own calculation, so I'm relying on Anderson's being correct. But I still have a couple of concerns because I'm concerned about peak flows and single rain events. Last week we had just an inch and a quarter of rain, and we had ponding all over Harstvet and Chat Holly Road. So it doesn't drain very well. And the water in this watershed does drain to the bay. So anything that goes off-site is going to get into Choctawhatchee Bay. And there are lots of organizations, including the Choctawhatchee Bay Alliance and stuff, that are working to improve and maintain and improve water quality in the bay. And every inch of impervious surface means that there's less water to permeate. So I still have some concerns. And one concern I have is because the geotechnical report identifies the shallowness of our groundwater table, 3/4 of a foot, between 3/4 of a foot and 3 foot. So the minute you put a shovel in the ground, you're going to hit water. And depending on how the detention pond is constructed and maintained, we don't want water backfilling from the bottom. Otherwise, it totally negates the reason of having that type of detention. So that's a kind of a concern of mine. And then the density, the LDC says development should show compatibility with neighborhood infill. And since they're all single-family homes in that area, I don't necessarily see that that is terribly compatible. My concern about that density is the traffic. And as I was leaving my subdivision, coming down Harsfett to turn onto Chat-Holly, it took me 12 minutes to turn from Harsfett onto Chat-Holly just to come to this meeting this morning. And that's without an additional potentially 54 cars, people going to work. So, and that was at about 8 o'clock this morning. So I have a concern about that because it's, another concern is people walk. There's no sidewalks there. So people walk that neighborhood all the time and they're walking on the road. So you add another 54 cars, people that aren't paying attention. It just concerns me that somebody's going to get hit. So that's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You want to address the stormwater question?
Yeah, it's hard to recall all the designs, but if when we design a dry system, we have a 2-foot separation requirement between the bottom of the pond and the water table. In the wet pond situation, obviously that water table is used as normal pool volume elevation. So it's hard to recall exactly what this report looked like because it was a while ago when I reviewed it. But it was reviewed in accordance with our requirements, and the modeling software that they use showed that the pond will actually draw down or recover and or discharge less than it was in the pre-condition. In its post-condition, I think this one contains the whole 100-year storm
Right.
event, and we don't require every development to do that. So this
Right.
is above and beyond that. And another thing you mentioned, some of the water quality going to the bay. The retention ponds essentially treat the water, the storm water that collects all the I don't know, you want to say oils or nutrients and stuff from the runoff. So these retention ponds that are getting designed actually help the water quality.
Oh.
And we're not allowed to let any of that impervious area run off site without first
Some type of
catching it.
detention and treatment. yeah.
Correct. So, I feel that this one, A, is above and beyond because we did larger storm events, but B, I think I know it meets all the requirements that the code requires.
Okay.
And of course, they have to also get a permit through the Water Management District, and they do a thorough review too.
Right.
So I feel confident. With the pedestrian safety you mentioned too, we're providing a sidewalk along this stretch of Harsfett for this development, I see. So they're gonna try to improve that for those that want to walk all the way down to Chat-Holly on Harsfett.
Okay.
And, if anything develops north of that, we'll require the same thing, so the sidewalks will essentially link together.
Yeah, and, there's still a lot of development going on. There's still construction in my neighborhood, and, these trucks barreling in and out going 80 miles an hour. I actually stepped in front of them. I was on Harsfett walking, and this guy he had to be going 50 miles an hour. I stepped in front of him. I'm like, slow down, buddy. So that's just a concern because there's people with strollers and stuff, so,
It's
all
a
right.
valid concern.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Margaret.
And I just had a question about,
Don't be sorry.
okay.
You're not sorry.
No, I'm not really.
And we're not sorry either, so.
So what I'm here to talk about is density for this project. And while I really do feel like they heard us and they have reduced it quite a bit, it is still not compatible with the neighborhood. We have, to the north of this property, there's 10 acres that are one house per 2.5 acres. To the east are 16 acres, which appear to be vacant. Melissa, I'm not sure about that, but they appear to be vacant.
I'm sorry, on the
On the east side. On the south side, you've got Mosaic Oaks, which is a higher density, but they're all single-family homes. On the west side, you have Cessna, which is zoned residential preservation. It ranges from half an acre to an acre, but most of them are half-acre lots. Diagonally to the northeast, you've got Seclusion Bay that is actually zoned, I think, small neighborhood, which would allow them to put 4 to 8 units per acre, but they don't. The lots on Seclusion Bay are half acre to an acre. I guess the developer realized there that larger lots were more appropriate for the area, given the environmental sensitivity and the flooding, as you all know, that we see on Chat Holly. I think during evacuation, it's going to be hard to get out of there. I don't think townhomes are compatible with the existing land use in the area, and probably the neighborhood feel and the community feel we're more rural, and that's probably not a technical question, but that is the reality. I think the LDC does give them a right to do anywhere from 2 to 8. And it just seems like, given that this property is in a low-lying, environmentally sensitive area, this would be the perfect opportunity to go to that 2 instead of the 5.2 that they have. So that's it. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? I won't be up again.
Anyone else have a technical question or wish to make a technical comment regarding this particular application? Stephen?
I did just want to make it a point to bring to the board's attention the request to buy out a portion of the sidewalk. I know that is an ongoing conversation that the county is having, so I just wanted to make sure that it was brought up.
Thank you, and that is noted. Here's my suggestion. We don't ask to buy it out. We decide to place it somewhere where the county would normally be required to place one, along Hartsford Road. If you choose not to place it within the development where it's required by the code, I would strongly recommend you propose putting it on Hartsford Road.
So just for clarification, the buyout, there's a sidewalk on the road on the exterior of that road, which is where the triplexes are. The interior is the pond and is circular. It just doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't connect to anything. So, but it is noted, whatever the board's decision would be.
I would strongly suggest you recommend putting it along Hartsford in addition to the portion that you're already placing there. I mean, that would be a significant improvement for the neighborhood, an improvement of pedestrian safety.
Okay.
That would be my strong recommendation.
We'll have the engineer take a look at it and give us an analysis.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It's there's not a lot of sidewalks out there. The developer already has to pay for it, so yeah, I think that'd be a good thing.
It could be accomplished during construction, I think, and I think Public Works would be amenable to working with a developer to locate that. We have any other questions for the applicant from TRC? There being none, we'll entertain a recommended motion.
Though staff has not had a chance to review the compatibility analysis, nor do a complete review of the landscape plan, I think that we can accomplish full compliance with the land development code and comp plan outside of technical review, and staff would recommend conditional approval to the next stage of development based on satisfaction of any outstanding comments.
Thank you, Stephen. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Without having to restate that, I'll make the motion as stated by staff.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to the Planning Commission, subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments and clarification of the location of this additional sidewalk.
Thank you.
Thank you. This will move us to agenda item number 11. This is a plat application, Camp Swift plat. Stephen Shawn has reviewed it. Stephen, if you could introduce it for us.
Yes, thank you. Camp Swift plat is a request to approve by final plat. Project number PLA 21-000047 is a plat application submitted by Volker, excuse me here, you can see this, Volker Surveying on behalf of Subbip LLC, requesting to plat 6 single-family lots on 1.25 plus or minus acres with the future land use of residential, that is a correction to the blurb in the agenda, and a zoning category of neighborhood infill. The property is located in District 5 and can be identified by the parcel ID in your staff report, which I would like entered into the record, please.
So entered.
Thank you. There are some minor outstanding comments, mostly clarification in nature. There is some missing covenants and restrictions that we would need to see to make sure that the development is moving forward in accordance with the development order that was issued. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Stephen. We'll hear from the applicant.
Melissa Ward with Dunlap and Shipman. Thank you. We do recognize all of the comments and we'll respond with them. Most of them are cleaning up some issues that need to be, clarified, not so much clarified as cleaned up on the application. The covenants and restrictions are easily provided. We can get those in just, today or tomorrow. An updated title opinion, plus title opinion, covenants and restrictions, and the buffer, and these are the drawing part of it. It's a matter of a resubmittal, and so I think that we can respond to these fairly quickly and timely, and would request that the technical review move it on to the next phase, conditional upon us meeting all those requirements.
When do we plan to take this to the board? I think the staff report may have had an older date in it. It's showing a December date. I mean, are we talking about February?
Yes, I think we should be able to submit it by then. I need to, you know what, let me pull back on that. I need to, before it goes to the planning commission, before it goes to the planning commission,
Won't go to planning commission?
BCC.
BCC.
I think what we have to do that is be able to get enough to respond to all the comments, get a final review before we can go to Mylar and get signatures before we can advertise for the BCC. So I don't believe it will go to the February Board of County Commissioners. That's, I think we're looking at March.
Oh, you need to resubmit.
Ideally, I would say 2 weeks to submit. Just because it takes about 7 to 10 days for a title opinion.
Then that's probably going to put us. We need to continue it for 30 days.
Okay.
That way you've got plenty of time to get it right, and we've got time to get it right here before we send it to the BCC.
It'll come back to the mid-February technical review?
We think that.
Okay.
February 16th?
Yeah.
Why don't we entertain a motion to continue this to February 16th, subject to resubmittal and clearing of outstanding comments?
Motion.
We have a motion to continue to February 16th. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to continue this to February 16, 2022. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item's continued to the February 16, 2022 Executive Review Committee meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Thank you, Melissa. Move us to item number 12, major development, the Cascade at Sandestin. Renee Bradley has reviewed this. Renee, if you could introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. This is a major development order, MAJ 21-000029. This has been submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of Sandestin Investments. They're requesting to construct an 82-unit condominium and amenities on 4.66 acres with a future land use of mixed use and zoning district of Coastal Center. Property is located in District 5 and is also located at the corner of West Winds Drive and Sandestin Boulevard South, and is identified by the parcel ID in your packet. I would like to enter the staff report into the record, please.
So entered. Thank you.
I'd also additionally like to enter into the record the parking analysis and letter from the Sandestin Owners Association, which was handed out.
Thank you. Both are so entered.
The remaining comments for planning were responded to by the parking analysis, in which we received this morning, and the Sandestin Owners Association letter. I do believe we do have one outstanding flood comment. Other than that, sir, unless you have questions for me, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant. I would like to add that we did receive some public comment on this project. Most of that was concerns about vibration and the older surrounding condominiums, as well as the height of the building based on the Sandestin ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can hear from the applicant. It looks like our outstanding floodplain comment is just a minor correction.
I can speak to that. Yes, it is a matter of a clarification on the plans, and we can do that and get it back to staff today.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Dana Matthews, on behalf of the applicant, along with Dean Burgess, project engineer. There's one other thing that has been delivered to staff, but I do not know that it got into y'all's packages in time. This does not show up in the staff report, nor in the comments from the last TRC, but it did come as some comments from Mr. Milam on behalf of some of his condominium clients, and that was, where is the staging area going to be, and what's it going to look like during the course of construction, and where is the parking for the contractors and the subs going to be. And so if I may approach and first page you see is the actual staging plan around parcel 120C, where the proposed construction is to take place. And the important thing, I think, from the neighbors' perspective, were along Beach Club Drive and South Winds Drive, are those roads going to be open during the course of construction, and where is everything going to be staged around it? And that's what this first page shows, that yes, those roads will be open. There will be no parking allowed on the existing roads in Sandestin. The second sheet is an aerial this is probably several hundred yards to the east of the site, and I wanted to show you property that was owned by SDI. You'll see the box in yellow. You all know well, you may not know, that is what we call the putt-putt site. That's one of the future development parcels there. But all that vacant land around there can be used for our contractors for overflow parking if we need it. And I wanted to show the relationship to just the east across the street from that. That's the SOA parking easement It's property that's owned by SDI, but we have a parking easement, relocatable parking easement with SOA, and we do not plan on using that area at all, and that is where owners and guests at Sandestin park, and they walk south from there to access the beach through the Finn site, which is right on the Gulf, as you know. So there was a couple questions from some of the letters that were sent to staff concerning SO, what is SDI going to do? Are they going to be interfering with the parking down the beach? Are they going to be interfering with the access to the beach? The answer is no, and this demonstrates that. Other than that, we answered all the questions from TRC. Dean Burgess worked with SOA's engineer, David Smith at Interlight, and Curtis, I can't remember, never can remember his last name.
Smith.
Because that's Smith, which represents Mr. Miles' engineer. There was different condominiums. They've worked through all the stormwater and how the ponds are going to be staged and elevated, et cetera. So I think everything has been addressed that TRC wanted, and Mr. Milam, as well as Robert Volpe, who's the lawyer for SOA. We've been in touch with each other continuously since the TRC, so everybody's on the same page at this point. And the parking, I know we just got the parking in. Unfortunately, our parking engineer had a death in the family, and so we just got this report literally last night. I apologize for it. And we've kept Ms. Bradley up to speed, not knowing when we were going to actually get it. But my comments on it is that, as you know, Sandestin does not have a parking standard. So every time there's a project within Sandestin, we look at analyzing an individual project in proximity to other development there, as well as what does the multimodal system look like, et cetera. Sandestin is a little bit different than other places. It is it's an enclosed basin, if you will. I mean, you have property on the south side, you have property on the north side, and you can go onto the road through the tunnel, and golf cart parking and golf cart usage has become more and more and more usable in Sandestin. And as my client tells me, there's an insatiable appetite for golf cart parking by the owners as well as their guests. And most rental product out there, and there's a lot of rental product that people rent their unit, whether it be single-family townhomes, condos, or whatever, they want golf cart parking to put a golf cart in there so that their guests, when they rent their unit, will have a golf cart to travel around the resort. That is one of the big consumer demand, and it's also, of course, the developer likes it because we like to keep them in the resort anyway. We'd rather them not go other places. And so when you look at Rick Hall's study, he said, hey, y'all have got 82 units. He knows how many bedrooms. He went through the whole count. He said under the IT manual, you only need 91 parking spaces. He said, but my analysis in reviewing it, he said, I think it should be 105. You've got 123. That means you've got 18 more than what you need. As you all know, besides the 123 parking spaces, there's an entire deck with 83 golf cart parking within this project. And my client believes that that is a positive, and with the shuttle system that Sandestin have, all the sidewalks, all the bike trails, all the biking, et cetera, that goes on, that is a reasonable analysis for parking requirements. So we'll answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. For the applicant. This is a major development. It'll get a public hearing at the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners once it reaches that portion of the review process. Do we have anyone here this morning that wishes to ask a technical question or make a technical compliance comment related to this proposed development? Yes, sir.
David Milam on behalf of 5 of the adjacent condominiums. First of all, I want to say thank you to Mr. Matthews and Mr. Burgess for cooperation through the process and responding to some of our issues and providing us information, keeping us up to date. I think that's worked well in the process. My only comment is with regards to the parking. We do have, the surrounding condominiums do have concerns about the fact that ultimately there will be 1.5 regular spaces, if I'm reading, and I did get the parking analysis this morning, and I haven't had a chance to digest it fully, but as I understand it, I believe there are, on average, 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit. Obviously, there's 3, 4, and 5 bedroom condominiums in this building. And so I understand the philosophical preference towards golf carts. I don't necessarily share it, but I think the problem is that people are going to bring what cars they're going to bring to the beach, and then they're going to use their golf carts. And so we just wanted to convey that we do have concerns about the reduction. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Your comments are noted. Do we have anyone else who wishes to make a comment or ask a technical question about this proposed development? Seeing none, and I do have concerns about parking just in general. However, this development of regional impact received a variance from parking some number of years ago. We rely on a professional analysis, as has been submitted by Holla Planning and Engineering, to analyze proposed use and determine the appropriate parking rate, or ensure that what is being proposed is adequate for this particular parking environment. Recognizing that we have just received that, but in the context of it does meet the outstanding requirement of the technical review reviewer, we'll entertain and recommend a motion.
I recommend a motion, sir, be move it forward to the Planning Commission. We've completed all, once they complete the flood comment, which should be very minor.
Thank you, Renee. We have recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to Planning Commission, subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments.
Okay, Mr. Carpenter, what is that date and time, please? PC.
It's scheduled for February, sir, assuming we were going to receive their parking analysis in time. If not, we would have continued it. So it's February the 10th.
Thank you. And at what time?
Yeah, 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Make sure we get our signs and notices out. This goes to item number 13, BrickTop's Restaurant. This is a minor development review by Renee Bradley. Renee, if you could introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. This is a request to approve by development order, project number MIN 21-000072. This minor development order was submitted by Design and Engineering Incorporation on behalf of GB Retail, LLC. They're requesting to develop 7,706 square foot of restaurant on .43 plus or minus acres with a future land use of mixed use in zoning district of Coastal Center. Property is located in District 4 and located at 525 Grand Boulevard and is identified by the parcel ID in your packet. I'd like to enter the staff report to the record, please.
So entered.
Guys, I'll get down to it. We did have a few outstanding comments on this project. The outstanding comments was from floodplain management, which was a minor comment. Also, environmental had comments, and the planning department has comments. The majority of the planning comments circled around basically a table and us correcting our acreage on our site plan. We have .43 acres listed. However, this parcel ID is identified with also the building to the south of it. So we have a larger parcel here that we're dealing with, which is going to change our ISR and our FAR and everything. So we're going to have to update our site data table. Either that or we're going to need a lot split to cut this parcel off. Also, they have, through their annual report, they have an analysis in which we have a drawdown for Grand Boulevard That also includes parking, and that needs to be updated as well. And unless the board has questions for me, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant.
Any questions for Renee?
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. We'll hear from the applicant. Good morning.
Thank you, Renee. My name's Will Craig. I'm with Design and Engineering. The
Spell the last name.
CRAIG. The site information was absolutely my fault. This piece of property is just grass inside an existing curb, inside an existing parking lot. And when I created my initial data, I used the lease area for the lot, but it's no problem to go back and use the entire lot. We'll just include the existing building and the existing parking and then add in what's proposed. Those changes should be pretty minor. I don't really see any problems here. The only thing that's outstanding for me is the environmental comments. Submitted an environmental report. Apparently it wasn't what you were looking for, so we're going to go back to the landlord and see what they have. Again, it's an existing piece of grass in an existing development. From conversations with the utility department, I believe something previously was approved there that never got built, so we're just turning that over at this point.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in there that can't be resolved fairly easily. Any questions for the applicant?
No, I didn't have any.
We'll take a moment to invite any technical compliance questions from any member of the audience. Anyone wishing to speak on this particular project? Don't see any. Renee, can you recommend a motion?
I did forget to mention, sir, this project is required to go to the DRB. It is within 400 foot. So we would recommend that once all comments have been satisfied, we move this forward to the first available DRB meeting.
Thank you, Renee. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion that dies?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to conditionally approve this to move forward to the design review board, subject to satisfaction of all outstanding comments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is approved to move to the design review board, subject to satisfaction of any comments. And now we'll move us to item number 14 this morning. And that is the Sellers Tile expansion. It's a minor development reviewed by Tim Brown, but quite get here from Iceland,
No,
so.
no, he cannot. I'll do the honor.
Rosanna's going to stand in for Tim this morning.
Yes, this is Sellers Tile expansion. It's request to approve by development order. It's project MIN 21-000071. It's being reviewed by Tim Brown. This is a minor development order application submitted by Alday-Howell En Incorporated on behalf of Sellers Tile Distributors and Pew Enterprises LLC, requesting approval of a 18,500 square foot expansion of the existing Sellers Tile and associated infrastructure on 2.76 plus or minus acres, with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning category of village mixed use. The property is in District 5 and can be located at the parcels in your staff report there. If you could enter that staff report into the record.
So entered, thank you.
It looks like did have some outstanding comments from
Planning, there were some outstanding comments, some floodplain comments, environmental comments, and also a comment from Public Works on this. I will try to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, I think the applicant is here. Yes, the applicant
Thank
is
you,
here.
Rosanna. Anyone have a question for Rosanna? Thank you. Let's hear from the applicant. Good morning.
I'm John Feeney with Alday-Howell Engineering. Last name's Feeney. Most of the comments that we got are just clarifications. There's two pieces of property, and one of them is currently being purchased as a separate piece of property. So title work, Riley can provide more info on that, but they're trying to get the title work settled and get an easement written for the access that goes around the back of the property. As far as environmental is concerned, we submitted the old environmental report, and Tim told us we could submit a letter for environmental. This project's tied to the South Bay Lumber project that just got approved, and their environmental assessment covers the portion of the property that we're developing on top of, so we're going to submit that environmental assessment to cover that need. Public Works comments, is that the traffic impact comment? Says Public Works says no comments on my report here. Okay, yeah, so I've actually talked to the survey reviewer, and the title work is what's being addressed with the Public Works comment.
Yeah, and just to clarify for the stormwater, as he stated, this was part of the South Bay Lumber, and what they're doing is basically filling in the retention pond that's on their site so they can build this, but they're sharing the stormwater pond to the north with the South Bay Lumber, and all of that was included in that previous development order that we reviewed and approved.
So by and large, this is just the new building?
New building and a little bit more parking.
And new loading areas for the new building.
Mm-hmm.
There is a comment that says warehouse is not an allowed use. The warehouse is accessory to the retail. It's a tile store or a furniture store is what's proposed. So they just need a lot of room outside of their showroom to be able to keep all their inventory. So if we need to clarify that as an accessory warehouse or something like that, we'd be glad to modify that.
I think inventory storage is an allowable use. Warehousing is not. That's the connotation is much more of an industrial use. We're talking about warehousing. But you're certainly allowed to have inventory storage to support your retail operation.
Okay.
How long do you think it'll take to address these comments?
My name's Riley Palmer. I represent Sellers Tiles. We're actually, we were waiting for the development order to be closed on South Bay. Now we're ready to go to closing. Once we go to closing, we'll get the new title policy and join the two title policies together. And I think the survey is already complete.
Yeah, I've already gotten revised survey, or not survey, but lighting, landscaping plans. We've revised our civil plans, and I'll get those uploaded this week.
Okay, you think you addressed all the comments this week?
Yes. We've already addressed them all in our plans. We just wanted to make sure nothing else came up from the meeting that we needed to address. So the biggest holdup would be the title work.
Yeah, and this one will go to Design Review Board as its next stop.
Right.
Which will probably put it for the March meeting. Why don't we continue this to the very next TRC meeting in hopes that the resubmittal meets all the requirements, and we have time to review that. That will give us time to complete the review and advertise for Design Review Board for that first week of March.
Did mention the likelihood that it did get continued, to possibly continue it to the February 16th. He will be out for another week, so I don't know if that will allow him time to review it.
When does he come back? Monday?
Tuesday. Staff reports are due Tuesday.
Let's continue to the middle of the month. But I'm not, given the nature of the comments, we need to address them all. But I think they're all of a nature that they can be addressed by the applicant. We just need to make sure we have time to review them. I wouldn't be opposed if we were going ahead and scheduling the next review step.
Okay.
With regard, since we have advertising lead time and those kinds of things. But I would stay close to staff and make sure that we are going to meet that schedule, because you'll have to send out notices and post signs for Design Review Board, and we want to make sure that you have plenty of time to do that, so that we can make sure we meet that public notice requirement. But I wouldn't be opposed to.
And the letters are already written, they're addressed, we just got to get a date to put on them, basically.
But I think we could safely look at that first week of March for the Design Review Board. But you got a little time left before those need to be sent out. And that'll give us time to complete the review. February 16th is the recommended date.
Yes, so recommended, continue it to the February 16th TRC.
Okay. You guys good with that?
Do we need any public comment?
Yeah, we'll take the opportunity to invite, since this is a minor development, anyone in the audience wishing to make a technical review comment or ask a technical compliance question regarding this particular development? Seeing no hands, we'll move to a recommended motion to continue this item to February 16th to allow time for resubmittal and review.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to February 16th, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. in this location, to allow the applicant time to resubmit and to review. Thank you, gentlemen. This moves us to item number 15. This is a minor development for a change of use for a Beach Baby crib rental. It's been reviewed by Rosanna Edwards. Rosanna, could you introduce it for us?
Yes, this is Beach Baby Crib Rental, request to approve by development order. This is project number MIN 21-000070. This is a minor development application submitted by Henderson Engineering and Consulting, LLC, on behalf of Brian and Kristen Nelson, requesting a change of use from a single-family residence to a baby equipment rental on 0.51 plus or minus acres with a future land use of residential in a zoning district of neighborhood infill. The property is in District 5 and can be located at the parcel number in your staff report. If you could enter that staff report into the record. Let's see. There was some comments from Public Works regarding the stormwater. There was also comments from Haley. She had some floodplain comments and environmental comments, and then the attached planning comments. If you have any questions on those, I can answer those. Otherwise,
The development to the north, which I think it's Mac Bayou Residences, which is a fairly large
PUD.
development that straddles the next roadway to the east. How does this project interface with that? It seemed like they were proposing to do some improvements along Mac Bayou Road.
Yes, they did sidewalk, and that was one of my comments to add that on this project. It does butt up against the northern commercial aspect of that project, so this would also be a commercial project as well.
Do we have sidewalk proposed on the plan, or is it part of the
It
comments?
is not, but that is one of my comments.
I think that's important to make sure that we do interface with the development to the north to further improve pedestrian facilities. Right, John?
Hello? Oh, there we go. Yeah, well, I didn't include any. I didn't know what the development plans, by the way, John Henderson, Henderson Engineering. Good morning. I didn't realize there was any plans for the sidewalk. We have a multi-use path across the street, and there is no sidewalk anywhere right now on the east side of Mac Bayou Road. I think most people use the multi-use pathway that's on the west side.
I think you're right, because it's the only facility right now. And 10 years ago, having a multi-use path on one side of the road would satisfy the sidewalk requirement on the opposite side of the road, but that's not the case these days. So we're looking for improved pedestrian facilities on the east side of Mac Bayou, and those need to be connected, at least to the planned connection for the development to the north.
Could somebody forward me those plans so I could find out where exact locations?
I'm sure
we don't have any jog or anything in the sidewalk. Make a connection.
I'm sure Rosanna can help you with that.
I went over the comments, and there was no engineering comments. The one public works comment was to attenuate the 100-year storm, which I did. That's why there was no engineering comments. The comment on fill, there's a little bit of the existing gravel driveway in the AE7 zone. That's not proposed as part of this project, it's existing. I'm not exactly sure what was filled there, if any, or not sure if that needs to be addressed as part of this project. There was also two comments about the environmental, about the secondary wetland buffer. There's an existing stormwater pond that was built as part of the garage, and that encroaches into the secondary wetland buffer zone. That's, again, not part of this project. That's existing. The general notes also that there's no encroachment or should remain intact, uncleared, and undisturbed. That's a typical note, but this house was built back in '85, and I believe that's all been cleared and it's lawn now. So I'm not sure that those notes apply either. I can put the note on there, but I think that ship's already sailed.
That pond in the back permitted?
It was part of the garage that was permitted in like 2020. It's not through the DEP or anything. It's just through the county as part of the stormwater requirements.
Um,
It was permitted and approved, and that's all been lawn back there for many years.
How long do you think you need to resubmit?
Well, I wanted to ask some questions about the planning comments as well. I mean, most of this is just notes. It's not really anything critical. The project number on the cover sheet, we're not privy to the project number prior to submitting. So that's like always going to be a comment if that's now a requirement. The utility providers, I actually took them off the plans because we don't have any utility connections or excavation, very, very minor grading. So I didn't think that. I can put them back. Number 3, the existing conditions sheet. I really can't add an aerial photograph and parcel map. I included the typical one from the county website with a submittal. But if I try to overlay that on the existing condition sheet, none of the text or line work is going to be visible. I could provide a separate sheet if a blow up on my title block is necessary. But I've never seen that comment either. Like I say, I really can't add it to the existing condition sheet because nothing else on that sheet would be legible. There was a few things I had improperly labeled, mixed use. There's no job site trailer. Number 6, label proposed structures correctly on the geometry plan. I didn't really know what that one meant. I've got existing house and existing garage. Is that, you want me to relabel that as the office and warehouse? Okay. I just thought about that last night. I was trying to figure out. 7, 8, 9 I've already addressed. Number 10, the building height. Typically, we have building plans when we have a project like this. Now, I mean, this circumstance, we have no building plans, everything's existing. I didn't want to get up on the roof or ask my client to get up on the roof to measure the height, so I just put that it was less than 50 feet in the site data table, which meets the code. I don't know if the staff expects one of us to get up on the roof. I don't really care to.
Yeah, we expect you to tell us how big the building is. Yes, we do.
Okay.
10 years ago, we might not have, but we do today.
Well, I mean, it is an existing building.
Right.
So we wouldn't have to cut any off if it didn't meet code, I don't think. Compatibility analysis, that's the one thing that I didn't provide that's not really just a note, but being that the building was built in 1985, before anything else was on Mac Bayou Road, I think I can address compatibility. Landscaping, foundation landscaping, there's a row of boxwoods in front of the existing building. I didn't see those in the approved planning list. Do we need to remove those and plant shrubs that are on the approved list?
I think we have the opportunity to substitute, but we need to know what you're substituting.
Okay.
Just tell us what you got. And hopefully that will qualify as credit for that.
Okay,
That requirement.
great. Clear visibility triangle I've got on the geometry plan, it makes sense to put it on the landscaping plan, so that's not an issue. 13H, southern property line is next to conservation, which requires a type A landscape buffer. I'm not sure that does require a buffer. Table 5.3, the buffer yard requirements. Our future land use is residential, zoning's neighborhood infill. According to this chart, residential abutting conservation, no buffer is required.
Is this state forest or state park?
State forest.
Buffer required. That got changed. And that got changed after the development proposed at the Boys and Girls Club site on West 38. That's at least 10 feet. We need to double check and see exactly what the code requirement is, but there is a buffer required against state forest.
Okay, is there a code?
And if if Chapter 5 does not identify that yet, it will.
Yeah, I didn't read it in Chapter 5.
There's a 10-foot buffer against state forest, and it may have been increased to 25. We need to double check that.
Increased to 25, I don't think we have 19 feet.
Let's
So-
confirm what the requirement is. I know it's at least 10 without having the updated code in front of me. There was a period of time when it was 0.
Well, yeah, I read through the landscaping requirements last night, and it doesn't say anything about it in the code now, currently. So, basically, all of this is just notes. I mean, there's really no technical issues, and I believe everything, well, except the buffer, complies. I can address this afternoon. I'm not going to be in town on the 2nd. I think the recommendation was to continue this. I'm not sure that these minor comments warrant a continuance. I'd hate to put my client off another month.
I did just want to clarify, just so the applicant was aware, that the comments from Public Works, is this storm water, it is in an ICPAL area, so that they just met the 100-year critical storm. That was the comment from them.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, take a look at that yet?
We essentially reviewed this retention pond twice, because we reviewed it for the single-family stormwater requirements for the existing garage, and then, of course, we reviewed it again for this, with a little minor addition to impervious area for the sidewalk and handicap parking space. So the existing pond that was provided for the garage had adequate capacity to still meet those requirements.
Okay. Else of the TRC have a question for the applicant? We'll take a moment to invite any technical compliance questions from any member of the audience this morning. Anyone in the audience wish to ask a question or make a technical compliance comment about this particular application? Seeing none, with the comments as noted, do we have a recommended motion?
I believe, like we discussed, that planning comments can easily be addressed. Same with the environmental, I think. So my recommendation would be to approve this contingent on addressing all outstanding comments.
Thank you, Rosanna. We have recommended motion. Do we have a motion of the dais?
Based on the discussions that we had about this, I think I'll make a motion that we conditionally approve subject to satisfactory response to all outstanding comments.
Second.
Thank you, and we have a second. Motion and a second. Approve this to move forward in order subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments and those items that were noted this morning. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to development order subject to satisfactory response to all outstanding comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And this moves us to item number 16. And this is the Christian International Large-Scale Amendment with Rezoning. Baronti. Steve is standing in for him this morning. So, Stephen, if you can introduce it for us.
Yes, sir. Christian International LSA with rezoning is a request to approve by ordinance. Project number FLU 21-000009 was reviewed by Bob Baronti. This is a future land use amendment with a rezoning application submitted by Stone Architecture LLC on behalf of Christian International and Wilford Hammond. They are requesting to change the current future land use categories from public facilities and institutional, mixed use, and conservation residential to commercial, and to change the current zoning categories from institutional, coastal center mixed use, and conservation residential 2-to-1 to general commercial on 67.5 plus or minus acres. The property is located in District 5 and can be identified by the number of parcel numbers in your staff report, which I would like entered into the record, please.
Leonard?
I will add, just for the sake of conversation here, that I believe there is a conditional use application that's running concurrent with this application for the proposed multifamily component, requiring the 20% affordable dwellings within that multifamily development. It appears that there are no outstanding planning comments, nor any other. I can try to answer any questions you may have. If not, I will turn it over to the applicant.
Thanks, Stephen. Any questions for Stephen? Thanks, sir. We can hear from the applicant.
Good morning. Shelton Stone with Stone Architecture. I'm available for any specific questions.
Shelton, can you just describe a little bit about what's proposed?
Sure. The Christian International, as you all know, currently contains 9 separate parcels, 4 separate land use categories. And what we're doing is basically combining them all into one land use category and zoning category for commercial. We do have a developer who's submitting a conditional use application concurrent with this, and you'll be seeing that shortly. And that is for a multifamily apartment site on the north side, and that will be subject to a 20% affordable housing requirement. The south side will, we anticipate a 250-unit, 100% affordable housing project, and that will come to you separately.
Okay, the one on the north side is going to meet our 20% moderate income requirement.
That's correct.
And on the south side, it might be more of a traditional affordable housing development.
We anticipate the south side will be a 100% affordable housing project that will be financed with tax credits. And so that will be a little more unconventional in the sense that it will be a 100% affordable housing. And we'll have a range of rent rates.
Affordable housing is something that is absolutely needed in our county, certainly in our South County, given the escalation of both the cost to build a house and the cost to rent an apartment or some similar rental dwelling. So certainly your owner and your applicant are to be commended for proposing this type of housing in our county.
Thank you. It's a big issue for them as well, certainly.
It's a big lift.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, it is. This proposed development will get a public hearing at the Planning Commission and Board of County Commission, in addition to the conditional use hearing, and at some point also Design Review Board. So it's going to get quite a bit of review on this review path. We'll take just a moment to invite any technical compliance questions from anyone from our audience this morning. Anyone here wishing to ask a technical question or make a technical compliance comment related to this application? Seeing none, we'll move forward with a recommended motion.
Staff would recommend approval and placement on the next available Planning Commission agenda.
Thank you, Stephen. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion that dies?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is approved to move forward to the next review step.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our agenda this morning. Thank everyone for coming, and we will stand adjourned.
Not over mine.